Welcome to the Carroll Center, and welcome to the 2013 Annual Carroll Award Ceremony. Before we get started, just a few housekeeping things. Turn off your cell phones or pagers, etc. We have live films going on today. So we have, over to my right, we have a live stream video going on. This is being live streamed on our website and will also be archived for future viewing. So if you have family or friends who missed the event, they can watch it off our website. We also have a videographer in the back who's taking pictures. So just so you're well aware, that'll be edited down to a Carroll Awards promo piece off our website on the YouTube site as well in a couple of weeks. So we're all set. Just want to let you know there's bathrooms down the hallway and water in the back or water down back in the lobby in case you feel parched. I have my water here. And we will begin, and I will be introducing everybody. So my name is Dina Rosenbaum. I'm Director of Marketing at the Carroll Center for the Blind, and I'm your MC for today. The Carroll Awards campaign is a joint effort between the Carroll Center for the Blind, a private, nonprofit agency providing rehabilitation and training to those struggling with vision loss, and the Massachusetts Commission for the Blind, the agency that directs all state services for legally blind persons in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. The purpose of this campaign is to publicly acknowledge the achievements and contributions that are being made by persons in the workforce who happen to be blind or visually impaired. By emphasizing the competence, achievement, and job diversity of the award winners, the campaign strives to have a positive effect on the attitudinal barriers that often confront persons who are blind or visually impaired, seeking employment or job advancement. The Carroll Awards were named in honor of the late Reverend Thomas J. Carroll, a leader in the field of blindness who pioneered new opportunities in rehabilitation and vocational development based on the principles first established with the blinded veterans of World War II. His legacy lives on today through the Carroll Center for the Blind, which together with the Commission for the Blind provide vocational rehabilitation, technology training, educational services, and vocational opportunities for all persons who are blind or visually impaired. Before we meet today's award recipients, I would like to acknowledge and welcome the representatives from the two sponsoring organizations for the opening remarks. First, Commissioner Janet Lebrecht could not join us today, so we're happy to have John Oliveira, Assistant Commissioner from the Mass Commission for the Blind, here to welcome everyone. And I want to thank the Commission also for helping with the sponsorship of today's event. John?
Thank you, Dina. And good afternoon, everyone. Thank you all for coming. And great to have a full house here. And the weather is nice. And I was looking forward to that tent that we had last year. But this year we don't have a tent, so we're going to be out inside here. It's a great facility here at where we're at. So let's enjoy and celebrate what's going to be happening here today. I would like to start out by thanking the committee on the Carroll Center side, Carroll Center team, Brian Charlson, Bob McGilvery, Gina Rosenbaum, and on the MCB side, Susan Lavin, Richard Leland, Alan White, for all the time that they spent. And this is quite a project. I used to sit on the committee, and we would spend hours when Arthur O'Neill was working at the Carroll Center, was more involved. And we'd spend hours going back and forth. And it was a very difficult decision sometimes to select the candidates. But we always were able to do it, and we always had great, always, if you don't make it this year, you can always make it next year. Also, I'd like to thank the employers for coming today, attending and supporting your candidates. And your support is sure very important to them, as it is important to us here to come and honor them and offer your support as your employer. And also, I'd like to thank the counselors, the MCB voc rehab counselors, who work hard, very hard, to make this all happen. happen, to help the consumers obtain the services that they need so that they can reach their employment objectives. And that's what this is all about today, obtaining employment. Finally, I'd like to thank the Carroll Center again for offering this nice space on this 29th Annual Carroll Center Awards. And we are proud to partner with them for many years. When I was a counselor, I remember we used to do this in Boston at, I think, Bank Boston, which is not around anymore, now the Bank of America, I believe. So we have a great history of our partnering together, and it's great to be here. So one of the most important things in anyone's life, all of our lives, is obviously obtaining employment, achieving that goal of getting that job. And the employment opportunity creates other opportunities. It allows you to participate and integrate into the community that you live in. When you meet someone, you always, the question right after your name usually is, so what do you do? And we all know that there's 70% folks who are blind and visually impaired. What do you do oftentimes means, well, I volunteer, or I'm a homemaker, or, and unfortunately in many cases, nothing. And that sort of throws that whole conversation off. And that's what this is all about. The Carroll Awards is to celebrate the employment, the opportunity that these folks have to work in a profession, work at a job that allows them to participate, allows them to integrate into their community, and so that when someone asks them, what do you do, they have an answer. And from that answer often comes, so what does program analyst do? What does a computer programmer do? What kind of social work do you do? And that starts to turn the whole conversation. And by the time you're done, and I met someone once and they said, sometimes I feel uncomfortable asking a blind person what do they do because so many of them that they had met didn't work. And that's something that the partnership between Mass Commission for the Blind and the Carroll Center, the services that we purchase from the Carroll Center and then their staff provide to our consumers, and the services that we provide at MCB, that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to change that answer so that when someone asks them your name and what do you do, that they're able to say, I work. And because I work, I have the finances to pursue hobbies, to take vacations, to participate in my community like everybody else around me. So again, just a thank you all for coming, and I only have a few minutes, so I think this is going to be a great event today, and I'm really pleased that I'm here, and that many of my staff are here, and many of the Carroll Center staff have taken the time to come. Thank you so much for coming.
President of the Carroll Center.
Thank you, Dina. First of all, I'd like to acknowledge Arthur O'Neill, who's hiding in the back. He has his fingerprints on about everything around here. The Sail Blind team just came back with a bronze from Japan. For instance, is all over that. The Carroll Awards Arthur started 29 years ago. Thank you, Arthur. Thank you very much, John. I appreciate your remarks, and I echo them. And I do appreciate the partnership that the Carroll Center has with Mass Commission for the Blind. And we all kind of share the same objective: is helping folks become independent and go back to work. I'd like to congratulate the winners of the award and of the awards. I mean, it's a big deal. You should be very proud. And the employers for what you do. thanks to folks that aren't here. I think Ruth Balzer will be here shortly. But the folks that from the State House that represent Newton, Representative Ruth Balzer, Representative Kate Kahn, Senator Cynthia Crean, have been incredibly supportive of what the Carroll Center does and for the causes of the blind and visually impaired and really all disabled people in general. Representative Joseph P. Kennedy could not be here. Kate Fowler from his office is here with us, but the representative did send a letter, and I'm going to read it. He acknowledges Jeannie Carroll, who is the Blind Employee of the Year, happens to live in the district. So, to the Carroll Society, though I'm unable to join in today's celebration, I'd like to congratulate the recipients of the 29th Annual Carroll Society Awards. I would like to commend Jeannie Farrelly, Director of Independent Living Services at the Metro West Center for Independent Living, as she receives the 2013 Blind Employee of the Year. Her story is an extraordinary, a true hero among us, as she has been called. Ms. Farrelly has been a leader in her profession, raised for charity, and raised 5 children. Wow, I didn't know that. All in spite of the good, I'm pleased to see Ms. Farrelly being honored for her lifetime of inspiring achievements and important contributions to our community. I'd also like to take a moment to recognize the Metro West Center for Independent Living, recipient of the 2013 Employer of the Year Award. By empowering persons with disabilities to become fully integrated with their communities, you genuinely strengthen our society. Please always continue such remarkable service, dedication, and leadership. Finally, I extend my most sincere gratitude to the Carroll Center for the Blind. Your commitment to providing rehabilitation, skills training, and educational opportunities to the blind and visually impaired is so appreciated by the city, state, and country. Supporting the blind, visually impaired, and disabled is and should always be an important priority for this nation. As advocates and allies, you have all played vital roles in this cause. Together, let's make a difference. From Representative Joseph Kennedy. I really can't add more to what John said. I think we're pretty well in sync on that. But Dina told me there have been 184 employees and employers that have been recognized by the Carroll Society. And one of the things that between the commission and their internship program and our efforts led by Mary Ann Gilmore in seeking out employers to provide opportunities is something that we collectively work very, very hard on. And to the extent you can spread the word about it, it's important. We'd like to see new employers and new employees as years go on. I don't know how many new employers that we've attracted this year. I think that State Street, John Hancock, Eastern Bank, and others have kind of, we've made them aware of the opportunity, and they've kind of seized on it. And that's important. It creates more opportunities. The Mass Commission for the Blind supports a job fair, the third annual job fair that we put on this year that's put together by the Perkins School for the Blind and the Carroll Center for the Blind. We put together potential employees and employers to create opportunities. And that's really critical and important. So the training that gets provided by the Mass Commission and by the Carroll Center for Independent Living and vocational training and computer training is part of it. Getting employers to create the opportunities is the other piece of this, and that's really very important. So with that, I'm going to hand it back over to Dina and recognize our honorees. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Joe. So now that you know two of the people up here, I'm just going to have the awardees, as I call their names, just stand so you know who is who standing up here. First is Jay Blake. You want to just stand up and wave, Jay? Next is Roz Nadler. We have Martha Steele. Today's award recipients represent a wide variety of professions and occupations. They have demonstrated that blind persons can and do work competitively in their jobs. But these individuals are not being honored just because they hold these positions. We are recognizing them today because they perform their jobs with the highest degree of skill and competence. And in doing so, they have contributed to the success of their organizations. In many cases, their colleagues and management have little or no experience in working with a person who is blind. There are some who have reservations on how a blind person could do the job effectively. But today's award recipients have dispelled any questions about the ability and potential that a blind person can bring to an organization, and as a result are helping to pave the way for other blind and visually impaired persons to demonstrate their abilities. The Carroll Awards consist of two components. One is membership into the Carroll Society, and the second is the Thomas J. Carroll Award for Employment. The Carroll Society is a select group of legally blind employees who have made outstanding achievements on the job. Through hard work, ability, commitment, and dedication, they have earned the respect and admiration of management, co-workers, and customers for their valuable contribution to the workplace. The Thomas J. Carroll Award for Employment is given to previously selected members of the Carroll Society who demonstrate these qualities to the highest degree, thereby earning the title of Blind Employee of the Year. The Carroll Awards were created in 1981, and today, as Joe said, there are 184 members of the Carroll Society. I would like to pause for a minute and ask anybody who's in the audience, and I know there are a few of you, who are already members of the Carroll Society, to please stand so we can recognize you. The awards committee that makes the selections of these outstanding individuals consists of both staff from the Commission and the Carroll Center. And I'm going to ask the members of the committee to stand briefly. Susan Lavin, Rich Leland, and Alan White from the Commission for the Blind. And myself, Brian Carlson, Bob Gilbrey, and Arthur O'Neill, who established the Carroll Awards, and we sort of dubbed ex officio of the Carroll Society Awards. The committee considers all the basic characteristics that make for a good employee, but more importantly, we look for special qualities that distinguish this person, making him or her a valuable member of the department or company. Characteristics that demonstrate to those around them that vision is not required for success. We don't just look for persons who go to work every day, but for individuals whose achievements also spills over into their communities. We are looking for people who are making a difference. It is now my distinct pleasure to introduce you to the first of the new Carroll Society members, Jay Blake. Thank you. Thank you for coming today, and we're going to introduce you when we give you the award. Thank you. Okay. You ready? Sure. Just stand. Smile. Jay Blake is president of Follow a Dream, Inc., a nonprofit he started in 1999. In a split second, your life can change. That is what happened to Jay Blake in 1997 while working on a forklift at the age of 31. One of the tires exploded while he was working on it, and Jay lost his sight, his sense of smell and taste, and almost his life. My life, as I knew it, was over. My whole life was cars and trucks. It was from the age of 3 that Jay started playing with tools and tractors, and I mean real tools, not like kitchen tools, right? He was always mechanical, and he followed his older brother's footsteps into the world of cars and trucks. His professional career started as a technician at a Ford dealership. Jay grew up in Wayland and was one of 4 children to Gary and Mary Blake. Gary Blake, through a neighbor, had joined the Carroll Center Board of Directors in 1984, served as president, and remained on the board for 10 years. It was Jay's dad who contacted the Carroll Center immediately after his accident in 1997. After 3.5 weeks in the hospital, uncertain of his future, scared and frustrated, Jay had a fortuitous meeting with Rich Roper, an O&M instructor. Rich convinced Jay that getting training at the Carroll Center would help him regain his independence and confidence. With support from the Mass Commission for the Blind, Jay entered the 12-week independent living program, followed by the job preparation program at the Carroll Center. It was during this program at the Carroll Center that Jay's future career was born. As part of his career exploration class, he was assigned the task of writing an essay about his dream job. Jay recalls that he was angry, discouraged, and depressed, and he vehemently fought the assignment. Dream job? His dream job was to be a race car mechanic, and how could he do that if he was blind? And how dare anyone ask him to dream that big? Today, 15 years after his accident, Jay serves as crew chief and president of Follow a Dream Alcohol Funny Car. He is the only totally blind crew chief in the worldwide sport of auto racing. When Jay returned home to Cape Cod, he began to pursue his dream of owning a professional auto racing team. He soon learned that even without his sight, he was able to do what he loved most, work on racing engines. Turning his dream into a reality, Jay combined his renewed participation in drag racing with his desire to spread his true life success by inspiring others, both with and without disabilities, to accomplish their goals through the power of positive thinking, self-determination, and teamwork. In the summer of 1999, Jay was presented with an opportunity. Because he had remained so positive in the aftermath of his accident, people began asking him to speak of his experiences and philosophy. The enthusiastic response from the audience of these initial presentations and his supporters encouraged him to keep pursuing his dream and to form a Follow a Dream organization. He and his race cars have participated in speaking events around the country. He has been featured on major broadcast networks including CBS, NBC, CNN, and ESPN, where he shares his experiences and accomplishments of overcoming his disabilities. In 2005, Jay was honored by the Boston Celtics with their Heroes Among Us award. His objective is consistent: to inspire the participants to shift into positive thinking and to follow and achieve their dreams through self-determination and teamwork. The 11 members of his crew volunteer their time to travel to about 15 races around the country each season. During a typical race, Jay is an active member of the crew, performing such duties as setting up spark plugs, assembling and disassembling the left side of the engine, starting the race car, and managing his crew. People hear about Blake's story and drop by to meet him at the track, but they have a hard time figuring out which team member he is. Sponsorships and any prize money go toward the race car and travel expenses for Blake's speaking engagements. With the car as a draw, the team has assisted in fundraising activities for other nonprofit organizations like DARE, the New England Home for Little Wanderers, and the Franciscan Children's Hospital. He now gives 20 to 30 motivational speeches a year to schools, businesses, and civic groups. He's made 5 trips to the Walter Reed National Military Medical Center in Maryland to visit with wounded troops. And every summer, he returns to the Carroll Center with his race car to inspire blind teens. Jay's next dream is to establish a land speed record for a blind driver, attempting to solo at over 200 miles per hour at the famed Bonneville Salt Flats in Utah, and to become the world's fastest blind man. I cannot attest to whether Jay is yet the world's fastest blind man, but you are an exceptional blind inspiration man. I am pleased to invite Jay to accept his award. So with that, you can stand.
I'm like a bad penny. I keep coming back. One thing I need to get started. Well, I met two of these ladies during the process of the campaign, and I was very impressed with both of them. The first one I'd like to introduce you to is Rosalind Naylor, employed by Mass Health under the Mass Executive Office of Health and Human Services, and she'll be accompanied by the Mass Health Director of Central Processing, Patricia Murphy. Ros Naylor works as policy liaison in the Central Processing Unit of Mass Health. She's the liaison between the policy work groups of the executive branch of state government and the frontline human service employees who process applications for medical benefits from the general public. In her duty, she interprets mass health regulations and writes procedures. She also analyzes policies to assess the impact of any new initiatives before they are implemented. Ros was born prematurely, and because of too much oxygen at birth, she developed retinopathy of prematurity. This left her with impaired vision, but sufficient to do most activities successfully throughout her life. Ros grew up in Dorchester and attended public schools, using glasses and magnifiers, which made her schoolwork a bit more challenging, but she adapted as needed. She earned her bachelor's degree from Boston University in 1971 and was hired soon after by the Commonwealth in the Department of Transition Assistance. She advanced through several positions in the Commonwealth over the years, gaining considerable experience and knowledge in policy and procedures for state-administered programs, earning her the opportunity to serve in her current position since 1995. Since that time, her vision has been slowly deteriorating, requiring periodic medical intervention. In the early 2000s, she lost vision in her left eye due to long-standing effects of her congenital vision problem. Always a positive person under any circumstances, Ros quickly put that problem behind her and learned to function successfully with one eye. But recently she experienced problems in the other eye requiring surgery, which unfortunately left her totally blind. Ros had been living independently and working very successfully with limited vision her whole life, but now, very suddenly, she had to live with total blindness. At first, this always positive, independent woman was devastated. How would she continue to work and to live independently? Her future was uncertain. These concerns were addressed by the Massachusetts Commission for the Blind, who provided quick intervention and training, first in her home, and then through the Carroll Center's residential rehabilitation program, where she gained daily living skills, adaptive computer skills, and peer group support to help her to make the personal adjustment to blindness. It was a slow and challenging process, but Ros was determined to once again be successful and to return to the person that she was. A significant component in her rehabilitation was the support and encouragement that she received from her colleagues and management at Mass Health. They became totally committed to helping Ros return to the office successfully. Before her total blindness, Ros was always deeply respected and appreciated by her colleagues, and now they wanted to get back their Ros that they knew and loved, and who was an integral member of the team. So everyone pitched in to make it happen. This was indeed teamwork at its finest, and a wonderful thing to observe. When you meet Ros in the office, you quickly discover that this is a woman who likes people, is very personable, and easy to talk with. It's easy to see how people would rally around her in a time of need. Her unit director writes, like the sun, Ros reliably arrives and departs only after putting in a full day, and her presence brightens the day for the people around her. Ros's warm smile and infectious laughter serve to inspire her colleagues that they too can overcome harsh adversity with courage and grace. End quote. Outside of work, Ros has become an active member of the Bay State Council for the Blind, a chapter of the American Council of the Blind, and she has a deep passion for musical theater and Broadway show tunes. There is not a show tune that you can name or hum that Roz won't finish the entire song for you. The Commission for the Blind has provided Roz with a variety of adaptive technologies to help her on her job, while training in the use of the devices was provided by the Carroll Center. She uses the JAWS screen reader along with a scanner, the iPhone, and a Victor screen reader. Mobility training by the Carroll Center was provided to her with providing her much more independence that is increasing every day. Roz has returned to her full workload and has resumed that dynamic and winning personality that is her trademark, and that has so endeared her to everyone who knows her. Her courage and strength, balanced with her cooperation and willingness to help others, earned Roz the respect and admiration of her colleagues and their wholehearted endorsement of her to the Carroll Society. So please welcome to the Carroll Society, Roz Ladler. Next, it's my distinct pleasure to introduce Martha Steele, employed by the Bureau of Environmental Health under the Massachusetts Department of Public Health, and who will be accompanied by the Associate Commissioner and Director of the Bureau, Susan Condon. Martha Steele is the Deputy Director of the Bureau of Environmental Health, whose mission is to protect the public from environmental health hazards in the water, soil, and atmosphere. Martha assists the Bureau Associate Commissioner with administrative and technical functions for all 9 programs administered by the Bureau. That includes approximately 150 persons, and she serves as the director in her absence. She provides guidance and assistance to all the program directors. She is responsible for the federally funded programs with the Center for Disease Control for environmental public health tracking, and she oversees the registry for toxic substances and diseases as it relates to state and federal hazardous waste sites. And if that wasn't enough, she is directly involved in grant writing, budgeting, and personnel issues for the 9 programs under the Bureau. The Bureau began in 1981 after the city of Woburn experienced an unusual increase in childhood leukemia, and further investigation by a special group from the Massachusetts Department of Public Health proved that the source was from industrial waste in the drinking water. It became a landmark case, and the movie A Civil Action was based on this report. Martha joined the Bureau just after it was formed. She also serves as the acting director of the Environmental Toxicology Program, where she oversees and directs program staff in conducting public health assessments for hazardous waste sites and tracking any related environmental health patterns. And if all of that seems like a lot, it is. It's a highly responsible position and extremely challenging for any scientist. The Bureau has developed an outstanding national reputation for excellence in environmental health issues and is often consulted by other states for assistance. Martha grew up in Burlington, Vermont, and was diagnosed at an early age with a hearing loss. So growing up a hearing-impaired child, she was fitted with hearing aids. She attended a special school briefly where she had speech therapy and learned lip reading to deal effectively with her hearing loss in the public schools. During her college years, she spent the summer teaching children in South America when one of her friends commented that she was bumping into things frequently, which she was somewhat aware of, but hadn't really given it much thought. Upon returning home in Vermont, she decided to have it checked out by a doctor and was told very bluntly by an ophthalmologist that she had Usher syndrome, a form of retinitis pigmentosa, and would be blind in 10 years. The news was unexpected and devastating to this young, talented woman embarking on a professional career. She then sought another opinion at a leading ophthalmological facility in Boston and was slightly reassured when she learned that although she did indeed have RP, retinitis pigmentosa, it would likely be a very slow and gradual process and could take many years to have any significant effects. She graduated from the University of Vermont, Phi Beta Kappa, in 1980, and earned a master's degree in public health from the University of Michigan in 1982. After graduation, she began employment with the Mass Department of Public Health as a senior toxologist. Recognized for her talent and commitment to excellence, she was later promoted to program manager and then to regional manager prior to her appointment to her current position in 1995. Throughout much of her career, Martha has been able to make the necessary adjustments to use her remaining vision effectively and know her visual limitations. But in more recent years, the field of vision has become so small that she realized she needed professional help. The Mass Commission for the Blind provided an array of services, including the Carroll Center for the Blind, where she received mobility training for safe travel, and she attended the Carroll Center's residential rehabilitation program, where she is grateful for the adaptive techniques for daily living she learned, but also for the experience to interact and share with other blind and visually impaired persons, an important component in the rehabilitation process. As a person who approaches challenges very methodically and scientifically, she did considerable research on how to best address her hearing loss and decided to receive a cochlear implant, which has enhanced her life immensely. Although a firm believer in the latest technology, Martha is also a devoted advocate of peer support services, and her positive experience in the Carroll Center Residential Rehabilitation Program further confirmed this belief. She recently developed her own support group, providing both peer group interactions and technical research updates from noted area professionals. The support group quickly became very popular and very well attended. She also serves on the board of the Coalition for Usher Syndrome and is an active member of the Foundation Fighting Blindness, where she has met and shared her experiences with others dealing with retinitis pigmentosa and Usher syndrome. The large volume of computer work and paperwork required for her job is immense and must be done timely and effectively. She has acquired a number of adaptive technology devices from the Commission for the Blind that have become an essential part of her arsenal of tools on the job. These include Zoom text and JAWS screen readers for using her computer, along with a scanner, a video magnifier, refreshable braille, the iPhone, and the Victor Screen Reader. Martha is a rather soft-spoken, reserved, yet very insightful person who approaches a challenge by thoroughly assessing the situation, does the necessary research, and then very methodically finds a solution to the problem. Outside of work, Martha is very passionate about birding and spends much of her spare time birding throughout New England and throughout the world, with her husband Bob, who is a widely renowned birding expert. Martha and her husband live in Arlington, where she commutes independently to work to Boston via public transportation. Martha is considered by her director as the consummate professional and the most productive person she has ever worked with. Her colleagues and staff at the Bureau have a high regard for her expertise, her dedication, her style of management, and her ongoing search for excellence. So please welcome into the Carroll Society, Martha Steele.
present the next award.
Thank you, Gina. It's my pleasure to introduce Myra Ross. Myra is the college advisor in the guidance office at Amherst Regional High School, where she has provided counseling and support to about 2,000 students as they transfer from high school into college. Her assistance is frequently recognized by appreciative graduates and parents who stop her on the street to thank her for her role in their success. Myra's contribution to her high school districts and communities have extended beyond her influence as a counselor. Myra began working at Amherst High School 14 years ago as the school's career coordinator. She ran an internship program and taught career development and service learning classes. She was well known in the district because she had been the chair of the school committee for 5 years. Prior to her election to the school committee, she served as an elected Amherst Town Meeting member for 18 years while raising 3 children of her own. When Myra began her work as college advisor in 2006, the office system relied exclusively on paper. It was made accessible by the school's wonderful web designer, who immediately worked with Myra to post surveys and other documents online. Later, after researching best practices, Myra persuaded the school to invest in a new comprehensive guidance program that is almost completely accessible and that also makes application submission easier for everyone in the office. Although her need for access due to a visual disability was the catalyst, it led to the implementation of a cutting-edge system that converted the office to the digital age. In addition to the technology used at the office, Myra also uses JAWS and her Braille notes provided to her by the Massachusetts Commission for the Blind to perform job duties. She also has acquired many newer technologies on her own, such as a Victor Stream to read books and the Kurzweil reader to scan work documents. Her iPhone permits her to keep up with time-sensitive emailing, even while making out-of-state college tours. Both mainstream and adaptive technology have made it possible for Myra to perform well in her chosen field, a mainstream job with almost no assistance from a reader. There's never been a better time to be blind, Myra believes. But that's a quote. Myra communicates with her techno-savvy students in a way that is familiar to them, often sending individual and group emails. She reminds students about incomplete tasks and approaching deadlines with messages that are printed on red paper that she playfully nicknamed howlers after the shrinking messages in the Harry Potter series. Myra's personal experience with disability gives her a unique expertise when discussing disclosure strategies and support services with students that have disabilities. She can often speak candidly with students and their families in a way that few others can. Myra was born with various malformations of the eyes and developed glaucoma, which destroyed her 2400 vision in the good eye. By the time she was 16, she could no longer read, and at age 31, her other eyes threatened to detach irreparably. She could no longer see crosswalks or buildings across the street. It was shortly after this time that she came to the Carroll Center. Living and working in the mainstream has been a lifetime pursuit for Myra. As a child, she received her education in the public schools in Levittown, Long Island, where she enjoyed an integrated education that was unusual for the time. She benefited from the school's strong music program, which gave her experience singing and playing the violin and viola. As a high school student, she could read music by holding the violin like a guitar and sticking her face into the music. Ultimately, she earned a music degree from the Eastman School of Music at University of Rochester. Although she never pursued a career as a professional museum, she appeared in 2 productions with Project Opera in Northampton and has been a member of the Pioneer Valley Symphony Orchestra for 32 years. Unemployed for many years, Myra was an early adopter of computers and received her first computer instruction in 1986 at the Carroll Center, crediting the program for introducing her to the technological world that she has enthusiastically embraced. After spending many years volunteering in her children's schools, teaching violin and viola lessons, coaching string quartets, and running music programs for children at the library, she began to work at the high school at age 47 and got her current job at age 54. Myra encourages people with visual disabilities to learn as much technology as they can and to find a place where they can volunteer in a way they really care about, making themselves indispensable until others see how good they are. Now approaching retirement, Myra plans to work for a few more years, then play more violin and see more of her family, which now includes 2 grandchildren. 2 of her children have inherited her eye condition and are legally blind. Her son, a blind public interest attorney, had a fellowship with a firm that worked for the National Federation of the Blind. Her daughter has devised unique music reading systems utilizing the iPad and music software, thus enabling her to perform professionally in the Boston area. Myra feels grateful for the opportunities she's had. She now has the job she always wanted and can walk to work. She is surrounded by wonderful colleagues, friends, and family. I got lucky, she explains modestly. I invite Myra Roth and her colleague, Erica Alshulia, up to the podium to accept her award.
The recipient of the Thomas J. Carroll Award for Employment is chosen from previously selected members of the Carroll Society as one who best exemplifies the highest standard of outstanding employee and a positive influence on others. It is now my distinct pleasure to introduce you to this year's recipient of the Thomas J. Carroll Award for Employment and the 2013 Blind Employee of the Year, Jeannie Carroll. The Executive Director of Metro West Center. Jeannie works as Director of Independent Living Services at this nonprofit organization in Framingham, one of 11 independent living centers in Massachusetts and one of the 500 in the United States. She has held this position since 2005. Jeannie supervises 3 to 5 direct service staff who provide a wide range of services to persons with disabilities for their full inclusion into the community environment, covering a service area of 26 towns in the Metro West region. The 4 core services include advocacy, information and referral, peer counseling, and skills training, while some of the issues are housing, transportation, health insurance needs, financial management, and self-advocacy. In addition to her supervisory duties, Jeannie has her own caseload of 40 to 50 consumers. She also advocates for the rights of the disabled persons on several collaboratives and committees throughout the Commonwealth. In 2011, Jeannie was appointed to Governor Patrick's EO 530 Commission on the Reform for Community, Social Services, and Paratransit Transportation Services. She has just been invited to be a member of the statewide Coordinating Council on Community Transportation, which is being formed as a result of the Commission's recommendations. Jeannie grew up in Providence and had no vision problems as a child except for astigmatism. She earned a bachelor's degree from Emmanuel College and after graduation worked as a computer programmer and systems analyst for IBM and EDS. Later she married and had a young baby. Her husband's work took them to Paris, where their family soon grew to 2 children. It was during this time in France that Jeannie became actively involved with the International Leech League, helping other new mothers with information on breastfeeding. Since there was no active Laliche chapter in Paris, Jeannie established the first chapter of the Laliche League in all of France. Today, there are 120 groups. After 3 years living in France, they returned to the States and settled in Newton. Her family continued to grow to a total of 5 children. Meanwhile, her vision began to deteriorate as a result of retinitis pigmentosa. And in 1994, she was declared legally blind. She was then faced with an even greater tragedy when her husband passed away. Now, without a husband, legally blind, unable to drive or earn a living, and had to raise 5 young children. She started a small computer business from home to bring in some income, but she felt that she really needed to get out into the competitive job market if she was to successfully provide for her family. As her vision diminished further, she realized, too, that although she was very familiar with computers, how they worked, and what they could do, she really needed to learn how to use a computer as a blind person. With support from the Mass Commission for the Blind, she attended the Carroll Center's Independent Living Program and Office Skills Training, where she acquired the skills needed for competitive employment. She admits that although she felt very qualified, it still took almost a year of job searching, resumes, networking, and interviews before landing her position at the Disability Policy Commission as a part-time project director and disability rights advocate. There, she was able to incorporate her many past experiences in community organizing efforts, such as the Foundation Fighting Blindness Massachusetts chapter, where she was co-founder and past president, the Understanding Our Differences program in the Newton Public Schools, where she's currently on the board, along with several other community organizations. While at DPC, she advocated for legislation that affected persons with disabilities and authored the report which provided a full accessibility review of the Massachusetts State House. All of this while raising her 5 children. Jeannie's success at DPC was noticed, and she later was hired by Metro West Center for Independent Living for her current full-time position. She still remains on the board at DPC. Each morning, Jeannie walks to the local T station from her home to take the subway to Newton Wellesley Hospital, where she waits for paratransit, the ride, to drop her off at her office. This commute takes 1.5 hours each morning, and she does the reverse each evening. In addition to her cane, she is fully outfitted in her high-vis vest, baseball hat, and glasses, otherwise known as her O&M outfit. Picture it. In addition to her workday, Jeannie also volunteers her time as a member of the Newton Commission on Disability, and she was co-founder of the Carroll Center's Alumni Association. Family is very important to Jeannie, spending time with her 5 children and 4 grandchildren. She also loves to travel and made her way back to Paris 3 years ago, meeting up with her youngest daughter and then continuing on to Florence, Italy. Her vacation time often includes trips to Atlanta to visit her grandchildren and relaxing at the beach. Jeannie was recognized by the Boston Celtics in 2005 as one of its celebrated heroes among us. Jeannie has been a true hero to her family, her employer, and to all who have met her and worked with her. So it is my distinct pleasure to introduce you to the recipient of the Thomas J. Carroll Award for Employment as the 2013 Blind Employee of the Year, Jeannie Fairley, accompanied by Metro West Executive Director Paul Spooner.
Hi, I was thrilled to learn about this recognition and honored to be invited to come and add my words of congratulations, and really the congratulations from the entire Massachusetts House of Representatives to Jeannie, who I've gotten to know over the years because, as was mentioned in the remarks just now, she is very actively involved in advocacy, and she really is an advocate par excellence. She is in the State House regularly. She comes to my office regularly. I'm proud to say that she is my constituent. I'm her representative, and she comes to advocate for the rights of individuals who live with disabilities, and in particular for independent living. And she is an articulate and forceful and also warm and wonderful advocate, and I'm always glad when she shows up in my office. And so I'd like to just read you the citation, but before I do, I want to thank Paul Richardson, the ADA compliance officer at the State House, who, when I was preparing this citation, helped me to put it into Braille as well. So it just says, be it hereby known to all that the Massachusetts House of Representatives offers its sincerest congratulations to Jeannie Fairley in recognition of receiving the 2013 Blind Employee of the Year Award and for outstanding commitment to independent living for all. The entire membership extends its very best wishes and expresses the hope for future good fortune and continued success given this 6th day of June 2013, signed by Robert A. DeLeo, Speaker of the House, and offered by Newton's two representatives, Ruth Balzer and Kay Kahn.
John. 1, 2, 3. Thank you all very much. I'm going to do it again. 1, 2, John. 3. Appreciate it.
All right, and we're gonna. Share a few remarks with us.
Okay, thanks very much, Dina. Thank you, everybody. John, Joe, Ruth, thank you so much. I really appreciate all of this attention, and my boss was telling me, don't let it go to your head. Dina said, keep it to 5 minutes, and I just had to laugh, and I'm sure my coworkers are laughing over there hysterically, because they know that I can talk for a straight hour without taking a breath. But I promise it won't be quite that long. A couple of things I wanted to say first. I want you to know that I'm not really the disability advocate par excellence. My boss is, Paul Spooner. He's the greatest. He's been a wonderful mentor to me, and I don't know where I'd be without him as far as advocacy goes. I did adjust my profile a little bit so that I didn't have to completely give a plug for the independent living centers, but I do want to, because I want you to know that people who have disability and need some help. I didn't know about the Independent Living Center Network when I was here at the Carroll Center. I didn't know it until I joined the Disability Policy Consortium. So know that they're there for you, those of you in the audience that have a disability. It's a cross-disability, consumer-controlled, and they really mean that. Consumer is in charge, and community-based advocacy organization. So we're not a residential center like some people like, I get a phone call saying, do you have a pool? And I'm like, no. We don't have a pool, and we don't have any bedrooms, and we don't have any apartments, and go on and on and on. So we're a wonderful, small office, but powerful office that helps people with disabilities in all the areas mentioned before, and then some. And if we can't help them, we find a community resource that will help them. So I enjoy my work tremendously, and to my best. I wanted to also, just two things came to mind. My speech, of course, is an invisible speech. It's all in my head. You have to kind of do that sometimes when it's kind of hard to follow your notes. I haven't really been a fast Braille reader, even though I do read Braille. So two things. Interdependence. Now, I know that people like to say, oh, Jeannie, you're so independent. It's ridiculous. But we're all actually interdependent. And I've been be reminded of that all the time. The main thing I wanted to say here is, and the interdependence, just joining the Metro West Center for Independent Living, it's been really easy. Paul and the Independent Living Center know what it's all about for reasonable accommodation. He has my back all the time. Yes, I have been discriminated against, even in my professional life, and he's got my back. And I know that this is part and parcel of making sure that people with disabilities are not discriminated against. And anything I needed, Paul and the Carroll Center and the Mass Commission for the Blind have been there for me. And I have all the technology mentioned in everyone else's talks as well. And it allows me to be a productive member of the Metro West Center. So interdependence. The other interdependence is, yeah, I did figure out a way to get to Framingham from Newton because I didn't like the fare increase. Even though I was on the Paratransit Commission, I couldn't stop that fare increase. I tried, but I couldn't do it. So I found another way to save me $10 a day. Instead of spending $14 a day times 5, 70 times whatever, I found another way, thanks to the orientation and mobility lessons from Joe Cole, and paid for by the Mass Commission for the Blind, and he's a Carroll Center employee. Then I was able to do it. Now, don't ask me to go walking anywhere. I got pretty decent skills, but I've got that one down pat. From my house to the T to Newton Wesley Hospital, and then a wonderful paratransit. Oh, I just realized. Am I close enough yet? Paratransit ride from Metro West, RTA, Regional Transit Authority, comes and gets me over there, my own little transfer system, and takes me into work, and vice versa. So I'm always dependent or interdependent. I have a wonderful volunteer who comes and helps me with my mail. She does it 10 times faster than me, with me. And and it goes on and on. Of course, my children and my grandchildren, they all help out. Everybody does. And I just couldn't do it without all the people and the organizations I've just mentioned. The other thing that comes to mind that I wanted to talk about is volunteerism. I think sometimes when you are asked, well, what do you do? And as John mentioned, and I'm just a volunteer. Well, take that just out of your sentence, because that's how I got where I am. I volunteered. I saw a need. I started an organization, and all that was on my resume. Sure, it wasn't paid for. Nobody gave me an evaluation at the end of the year, and nobody gave me a salary. But I learned so much from starting an organization. One that wasn't mentioned is a childbirth organization I started, CSEC, just before I went off to Paris. And in a few short months, my co-founder, Nancy Wayner, and I, and a handful of women, we convinced, in a very short time, Brigham and Women's to allow fathers in the operating room. Okay, so the delivery room was the year before, and we're back in the 70s. And then, people have babies in operating rooms. I happen to have one baby in an operating room. And my husband, the father of the baby, and my husband wasn't there. And I said, this is not right. And so we changed it. And we changed it for the entire country. eventually they followed suit. You know, Boston is always first. So, so anyway, so that was volunteer. I saw a need. We did it, and we went on to be a pretty active organization, national organization. And then the other ones, of course, you've heard about. And so when I decided to go back to work after kind of raising, you know, not quite finished, my 5 children, I did have a resume. A few employers, prospective employees said, "So what's this? Is this volunteer or paid?" I'm like, "Does it matter?" But it did matter to them. I said, "Well, I'm not working for you, am I?" So I just couldn't believe it. So volunteerism is important. It's very important. I heard a talk the other day. It was a graduation speech, and it said one of these things not to worry about. Don't worry about finding your passion. Your passion will find you. And that's really true. It did with me, advocacy. It just started and just, you know, when I didn't set out to do that. I majored in physics, for gosh sake. And I was a computer programmer, systems analyst, all, you know, techie. And all of a sudden, you know, I see a need, I become an advocate, and this is the best job, the best gig I could ever imagine. So I just want you to know that volunteering is I'll never give it up. I do a fair amount in my spare time, and everyone should keep on doing it. Just wanted to mention a couple of things. I was very surprised at Representative Robert Kennedy's citation or whatever it was. Interestingly enough, and then probably sadly, today his grandfather died 45 years ago today. It's also significant as the day that my brother died 20 years ago today. But I wanted to mention him, and I wanted to mention just in passing, in one last thing, and I'm probably way over my 5 minutes, but that's okay, is that a quote from my favorite president. You all know where my politics is. My favorite president, JFK, and who happened to be Robert Kennedy's great uncle. And I'm just going to paraphrase one of his very, very famous quotes from his inauguration speech in 1961. My paraphrase is, ask not what you can do for yourself, ask what you can do for others. Thanks.
Thank you, Jeannie. Very inspirational. And we don't have a pool at the Carroll Center either. Want to fix that, Joe? Yeah, okay, yeah. It depends if you're here on a rainy day. People often ask, what kinds of jobs can a blind person do? And often the question is, as you learned today, almost the same types of jobs that sighted people hold. Today's new and evolving technologies has helped tremendously in providing greater employment opportunities for persons who have significant vision loss. Each year, our Carroll Society inductees present extraordinary success stories. And just when you think it can't get any better, a new crop of talented individuals emerge to prove us wrong. I would like to ask all the award recipients to stand and let us again show our appreciation for their outstanding achievement. Technology is only part of the reason more and more blind persons are excelling in the workforce, but not the entire explanation. And I think Jeannie really hit it on the nail. Success requires an individual who's committed to excellence and hard work and has a positive work ethic, along with a supportive team, which includes caseworkers, training specialists, as well as employers who recognize the individual for what he or she can bring to the organization and not to be deterred by lack of vision. And let us not forget that the supportive family and friends plays a critical role in the success of all of us and is another dimension of teamwork. Success is never accomplished alone. I'd like to end by giving special thanks to all of the employers, supervisors, the Mass Commission for the Blind, VR, and counselors who took the time to nominate each of the award recipients, providing the committee with sufficient information to make the right decisions. A special note of thanks to Arthur O'Neill and Deanne Elliott, who completed several of the interviews and profiles out in the field, and Bunny Schumann, Carrie Davidson, and Arthur for going out and taking photos of our awardees. Plus, all the behind-scenes people, support staff that make today work. And thanks to each of you who gave up some of your time and your busy schedule to pay tribute to your colleague, your friend, your family member who is one of today's award recipients. On behalf of the Carroll Awards Committee, congratulations to each of the awardees and all of you out in the audience, and thank you for coming.